Hey guys, before we start, a quick shout out to Alpha Dog Nutrition for sponsoring this podcast. Alpha Dog products are now available at dusupply.com, and you can use code ALPHADOG15 at checkout for 15% off and a credit for free shipping to try it yourself. Now let's get you to your podcast.
We are back with another episode of Interviews, Stories, and Tells. We have Richard Dickerson on this episode. That is all I have to say. You're going to hear stories. He's going to tell you what kind of dogs he likes, everything about dogs this episode. And if you want to watch this live, jump over to YouTube's Interviews, Stories, and Tells every Monday night. We are live. If you want to be part of something great, go over to azwda.com, become a member, or donate, because we're not going to let these antis tear down our traditions. azwda.com. Now let's get to the podcast.
Comb your hair, Benny, because, ladies and gentlemen, we're live right now on YouTube. Up here, above me, we got the famous Christopher Watson, not Watkins. Opposite, no, that's the opposite corner. We got our trusty sidekick, Mr. Benny Griffin, right?
Most of the time.
And then our special guest over here to the other side. How is that? There you go. Right there is Mr. Richard Dickerson. Rumor has it he's caught more lions with a flashlight than anybody in the world. And that came from a very reliable source. That came from Steve Smith.
I was going to say Steve Smith tells everybody that. I don't know that it's necessarily true, but that's what Smitty tells everybody.
Makes for a good story.
Well, everybody knows that you just don't go hunting lions with a flashlight. That's all, Rick.
And in
Sometimes you ain't got any voice.
We got Missy here, Bill Herring, Jeremy's back, Randy, my buddy from Colorado, Rick Cooley's here, Troy, Louisiana hunting. So, Mr. Dickerson. Well, I did an interview. Yep. I got to go to Terrell Shelley's little Lion Hunters Rendezvous, and I got to sit down and interview Mr. Dickerson. So we conned him into coming onto one of our live shows. We had to help him a little bit. He's a little technologically challenged.
I think we all are.
Thanks, Chris. You're getting a Christmas card for helping me out on that.
I did mess up your name on my podcast.
You know, I'm upfront about it. I can do advanced math, but I can barely work my damn phone. I mean, go figure. But we didn't grow up with that stuff, guys. I mean, we didn't.
No.
Like all my kids, they're always on my phone doing stuff, and I say, don't put that on there. Like, Dad, you need this, you need that. I said, I don't know how to work that. Don't put that on there. They hooked up my truck the other day. Some boys that I rope with, they hooked up my truck, and now it rings. Their numbers ring in my truck, and the radio comes on, and it's like a Bluetooth deal.
Yeah, Bluetooth to your truck. Yeah.
So I had, and I'm trying to get ready to go practice, and I'm like, you little turds, get that stuff, because they drove my pickup. They borrowed my truck and went and picked up some roping cattle, and they said they couldn't get a radio station, so they rigged this deal up on there
with the Bluetooth.
And now I don't know how to get it off there.
I came in.
You're gonna have to trade your pickup in, Rick.
Yep.
Them little shits.
I came in when it was you had to type in all the codes to even log into your computer. So I came in right when computers were starting to get, and I still don't know a lot about it. I know some. I know enough. But
that's when for some reason, it's opposite of who I am. But when computers came out and everything, and then you could get online, I was just totally fascinated. I had to learn how to do it. But I mean, back years ago where you would have, and then you were online, and it was just like a whole world opened up to me. I thought, man. And that was back when the websites, there wasn't that many websites. YouTube wasn't around or any of that stuff. It was just you get on the internet.
They had AOL Messenger, and
Yep.
I was just coming into my divorce time, and that got me in even worse trouble.
The womanizer we got up here in the
man,
top
Rick, are you
left-hand
a
corner.
womanizer?
I traveled to other states just to meet girls.
I like them myself.
Yeah, beats the alternative.
There's no woman safe with Chris around. I'll guarantee.
Yeah,
it.
But
Chris has still got a chance. I got zero chance.
But Trump did say there's only 2 genders today, so
Good.
we're good. I was confused for a little while.
We all got it straight. It's the ones who think there's more than one gender or 2 genders that are confused.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like Steve Smith. If it ain't got hair, I ain't interested in it.
That's.
You know what I mean, Chris?
I know.
If it ain't got hair, I'm gonna pass on it.
Well, let's go. Let's go ahead and say, what have you been doing, Chris? It seems like I haven't talked to you for a month. No. What's up?
And usually we pre-call on today, but man, I just been, man, I'm over, like I've raised over $6,000 since
the Arizona Working Dog Alliance. Mm-hmm. Chris is running that. He's doing a heck of a good job. So if you guys haven't helped him out, then here's your chance.
Right there.
I can be all professional. This podcast is brought to you by the Arizona Working Dog Alliance, trying to save our rights and our freedoms and our ability to run our hounds how we see fit.
And you know what I have that you guys don't have? What? I have a fan club.
Look at that. He brought the kiddos. Look at them on their phones.
On their phones, trying to log on is what they're trying to do.
And how about Mr. Benny? What have you been doing, Benny, besides sitting there looking mean?
I've been cutting and splitting firewood.
It's a good time of year to be doing that, ain't it?
No, it's too cold.
It's too late to. You should have been doing it in the summer when it's hot, so you'd be ready during the winter.
Yeah. When I had a job, I should have been doing it.
And then our special guest, Mr. Richard Dickerson.
Yeah, Rick, you keep saying special.
Yeah.
I've known Rick since we were in grade school.
Yeah.
Way back.
Wait, are you trying to tell me he's not special?
Well, I'm just wondering if you're trying to qualify him. I've never seen him ride a bus or drive a bus, and don't be referring to Mr. Dickerson in any form like he's in charge of the short bus.
So you're thinking I'm making a derogatory statement about him.
Yeah, be careful. He's our guest.
Okay. Our guest of honor. Guest of honor, is that better?
Yeah,
I kind of like it. I kind of like it. I think that's the first time I've ever been called special.
And if you haven't seen it, we did that. I said earlier, we did that sit-down interview with him. And through a lot of maneuvering and working at this, we got him online, which is live, which has been it's been an experience, hasn't it, Richard?
You know, I think I've got some friends that keep up with that stuff, and a buddy of mine called me this morning, and he said that thing's doing pretty good.
Oh,
I can't remember what he told me. It's got quite a few views, but I think everybody seems to be enjoying it, and I think those compliments, the compliments on there, you know, beyond flattering. I mean, people have been really nice.
Yeah, it's
thank you.
One of my favorites, yours and Mike Root, my favorite interviews of all time.
Right.
I like the setting. I like when we were out there, we were sitting by the campfire and everything. That was pretty cool. That was nice. Yeah. It was all natural and everything.
You do a good job. I mean, you keep it interesting, and I think people like that because it wasn't staged or, you know, it wasn't a set deal. I mean, we were just shooting the breeze, and I think people warmed to that. They prefer that over some sterile type setting, you know, does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. We just, just like this show. I mean, we're just kind of free flowing. We don't.
Yeah.
There's nothing scripted, nothing staged, nothing. We're just. I mean, look, we got Benny on here. We can't be staged.
Well, we have
Like
a
Benny
topic.
can get on there and say I'm not a bus driver. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't pay money for that, guys. You know, when he gets on and goes, look, Rick can't drive a bus, y'all.
Yep. I mean, we pick a topic, we just never really stick to it.
Yeah, we go all over the place.
Yeah.
I was kind
It
of
comes up for a few minutes.
trying to wait before we got into because we usually don't get most of our viewers in until about 15, 20 minutes into the show, Chris. So
Yep.
I think most of them wait till we get all of the bullshit out of our system. Kind of like when you take your dogs out, you let them, you unload them half a mile before you want to start hunting. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta let them empty out.
Hey, good luck with that. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Get all the shit out of them before we got to get it all out of us before we get into good topics.
Y'all probably not interested in this, but I was shoeing a horse all day long. Took me all day long to shoe one horse.
Oh, that sounds like me. I don't.
Yeah. Oh, freaking horse, dude.
Take me 4 days, 1 foot a day.
When I was younger, I could go around 3 of them by noon, and now it's like all day long, and it's almost over. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, at least you got shoes on them. It takes me all day to trim them.
Wow.
So, and they usually pull left or right. They usually pull left or right when I'm done. So
no, I'm feeling better about myself. Thanks. Keep talking. I like it.
I got to tell the story again about I went to a ranch. Speaking of what we did this week, I went to a ranch this week, and I seen a friend of mine, and it's a private ranch, and me and this guy used to rope a lot together, and it was on that ranch, that very ranch, and we were parked right down below the bluff where he told me about it, that a friend of mine and Rick's, Greg Ball, was there, and they had a lion. They called us because they had a lion track in the creek bottom, or in the arroyo, and we drove out there. And Greg called me up and said, "Hey, you want to go see if we can catch a lion?" I said, "Sure." So we went out there, and I didn't have any dogs at that time. This has been quite a few years ago, and he had. Sure enough, there was those tracks in the creek bottom, and he had a little dog. That dog's name was Maze, right, Rick? Mace. And that was bad. He didn't have any. We didn't have the GPS collars or anything back then. We just had the beep beep collar, and we took off trailing that lion up the side of that mountain, up onto the top of the ridge there. And we got about 3/4 of the way back, and Greg went back to get his tracking box, and that thing was like carrying a banana crate. It's back then those things were huge, and I stayed up there with that dog, and we trailed that lion up. And that was the most amazing thing. I never will forget that first feeling watching that dog reach down and smell those rocks like, whoa, and then walk up, 10, 15, 20 feet. Whoa. And we went all...
Y'all caught the lion, didn't you?
Yeah, we went all the way down that ridge, all the way down to the end of it. But then it just died. It stopped. And the dog was and this is just with one dog. One dog was all that was opening on that trail, or was trailing that lion. And we got out to that edge, and she was milling around, and it's pretty open country. And I remember talking to Greg and saying, man, we ought to be able, if nothing else, I don't think very far. That lion's got to be around here somewhere. We ought to be able to see it. And I got to crawling around the rocks, and I crawled down below that bluff. And when I was crawling, there was a crack in that bluff, went in about 5 feet. And it was about, I don't know, it was about that wide. And I got down below that crack, and I walked right next to her. It was a Tom. It was a nice Tom. And he was hanging in, and he was up there in that crack.
He was right there the whole time.
Hiding in that crack hole, just hiding right there. And
I raised her and trained her, and she was probably a 4 kind of dog, maybe a 5. She could catch a lion by herself.
Yeah. Well,
any dog that can do that's a 4 or 5. kind of dog.
So you're saying a 4 or 5? How high does your scale go?
5 is the ceiling on it for me.
5.
And some guys might say, level 10s, or I don't know. Everybody gauges things different, but
Yeah,
I gauge hounds and everything in life by levels. So level 5 hound is the top, the ceiling on it, and a 1 is, not very good.
in your hunting career, how many level 5 dogs have you had?
A bunch of them.
Bunch of them.
Yeah. But we've had a lot of 3 and 4s too that I've kept and hunted, and they were, you know what I mean?
Because they
There's a lot of
contributed.
days. There's a lot of days you got 6 level 5 dogs there, and at the end of the day, there's they're level 3 dogs, and they've done all the work, or they catch the lion. So they don't necessarily move up in status, but you're glad to have them along.
But
You just
I'd like to go through the levels. What are you considering a level 1? Like a pup?
Yeah, a pup could be level 1. I mean, just a pup that's just following along, or a dog that you're going to call. If he's 3 years old and not helping.
Yeah.
You understand where I'm going with that.
Mm-hmm.
How long?
That moves right on up. It's just ability. For me, a level 2 dog is, what a Me Too dog is?
Yep.
One. So a Me Too dog would be a level 1 or a 2 dog. It's pointless. A dog that just runs along there with his head up barking, and a guy really should find a home for those kind of dogs. They're not going to help you, and it's really distracting. Dogs are down there, and most of the time the dogs will figure out that they're full of it, and they won't honor them anyway. But they're back there and they're just running along there barking. That's a level 1 or level 2, and then it goes right on up ability wise. Does that help you?
So,
yep.
Does that help you, Chris?
Yeah. Yep. So, and then you get into your 3s, right? And those are kind of your helper dogs that they have some sort of little bit of talent to them,
and they're contributing.
So how long you got a year and a half or 2 dog?
Yeah, if you got a year and a half old pup and he's helping them dogs, and he's only seen maybe 10 lions, but he's helping, and he's probably made a level 3 dog. I mean, he's probably moved up that far up the ladder, and then it goes right on up. Where they're, if they're picking up loses and they're, lions, they're doing little tricky things and they turn the track around and figure it out. If you got a year and a half old pup and the dogs have made a bad lose there for 30 minutes, and you hear a level 3 year and a half old pup up on the hillside, and he picks it up and he's going on with it, and everybody runs to him, and you end up catching the lion. Those kind of pups, that's how they move up.
They get their number raised right then.
They get their number raised in a hurry when they do that. But you know what I mean? I'm pretty stingy with how I award that stuff.
They have to do it more than once. So how long are you keeping a 1 or 2 dog before? That's a big question. Is how long do you keep a dog before you really realize it's not going to do something?
How much of a chance do you give them? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it depends on the dog, whether I like them or not, to be honest. This probably sounds bad, but I'm, sometimes if I don't like a hound and he's not helping, I'll go ahead and find him a home, or, you got to make a move on him. It's sooner or later. But I'll be honest, I've kept dogs that I liked and they had the breeding behind them and I believed in them, and they were 2 years old, 2.5 years old. Excuse me. And then, God dang, one day you're down there and you hear them down there and you're thinking, well, there's old Bobby Joe, and you go down there and he's helping. Yeah. And then he's 15 years old when, you keep him till he's 15, and there's late starters. Yeah. So that's just, that you just got to kind of look at them, and, if you've been around them, you're all hound guys, you're all good hands with a hound. You see which ones. You got a year-old pup and he's got a bunch of recessive genes, and, it's a problem.
You got to pay attention.
How many hounds?
Yeah.
How many hounds do you think you've been through in your career?
Are you talking to me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I thought you might be talking to Benny.
I don't know about Benny.
Oh, yeah. How do you figure that one, Rick?
I don't know. I mean, hundreds.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
Did you, when you were like, when you're needing to get a dog, did you have just a few people that you'd go to?
Well, once I got started, once I figured out, what the deal was, I didn't go to anybody anymore. I just, I had the genetics that I wanted, and I just kept, I just stayed with it. And we kept, when you're catching a lot of lions every year, we catch, I think in the podcast I said, in the interview, I think I said catch like, 100, 340 days a year, catch 40 lions. But sometimes, depending on the year, sometimes it was 38 lions and we'd only hunt 300 days a year or 290 days. I mean, it varied, but, I just tried to round it off. And, on average, we would catch, 40 but we've had years where we caught 49 or 38 or 45 or, it fluctuates. So
Well, I tell you what, that's how you.
So you're catching a lot of lions. You can train them dogs, and of course the price was just kept going up, and who can afford to go buy one? I think a hound sold the other day for 20 grand maybe or something.
17. Well, the story was that up here at this sale in northern New Mexico, there was a dog that sold for 17.5, and the guy who bought that dog, I had sold a couple dogs to, and I didn't know he had bought that dog, and I called him, and we were talking, and I said, "Did you hear about that hound that sold for 17.5?" And he said, "Yeah, I did." I said, "Now, who in the world would pay that much money for a hound?" He said, "I would." I said, "Oh, congratulations!"
I did. I did.
Years ago, you could buy a really good hound for $2,500.
Yes.
Or $5,000. I mean, you could for $5,000, you could get one that gets your pipe and slippers in the evening for you. Plus, catch a lion that day. And, that's not the case now. But so back to your question. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
Do you think these auctions, they kind of set that precedence to where, I mean, you got people bidding against each other. It's not necessarily probably what that dog's worth. It's just what those two people mainly is going to pay for it. So a guy who has a dog that can outshine that dog that he bought for 17.5, is it wrong for him to say, "Hey, I'll sell you dog for $18,000 that will do exactly what that dog does"? You think that ruins the market a little bit, these auctions, when they sell real high, 20 grand, 17 grand?
Sure. Well, you can't blame those guys. You can't blame them if they can get it. Good for them.
Sure. And think about how many lions that dog had seen. I mean, because I know the guys who's holding him. I mean, they catch a lot of lions. And how do you genetics are there to make it a good dog, but you got to have that other component too. Some guy's going to take them out there and show them a bunch of lions, and they get that. And how do you price that experience? How do you put that into a dollar amount?
Yeah, if he's 5, 6, 7 years old and he's, been in on, I don't know, it's 7 or 8. I mean, maybe he's been on 20 lions, 50, 100. They should be. But if a guy's going to, just like horses or anything, if you're going to go, you need to go try them, and see if they fit you. Because just because you buy a dog, I mean, you might get him down there and maybe he don't want to perform for you. Maybe he don't like you, or he's not listening to you, or, I've sold very few hounds. I think over the years, last 40 years, I can't remember that boy's name, but he was way up north there in New Mexico, and that's that boy that you gave him my number, Benny. He's
Wesley
up there
Smith.
on that Wesley Smith, and a really good boy. Anyway, Benny gives this boy my number, and he's a real good kid. I really liked him. I talked to him on the phone a few times, and he said, "Hey, we got a cow-calf operation up here, and we can't raise any calves up here on this river." What's that river up there? There's a big
there's
Cimarron or not.
The Canadian?
It's the
Canadian,
Canadian.
yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
That Cimarron.
Canadian.
You guys are going to have to carry me tonight. I mean, Cimarron.
Hey, I was calling you Rick Henderson. I don't.
Yeah, but Chris, you were closer than I was. Anyway, this boy calls and he said, "We can't raise no calves." And I said, "Okay." He said, "And I've talked to my grandfather, and he said that, he's instructed me to look for some dogs." And I said, "Okay." So I don't know, I sold him one, and I told him, I said, "You want to come down?" He said, "No, I don't have time for that. Can I just come get her?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll come get her and take her and try her." And I sold him 3 dogs, and they were level 5 dogs. They were good suckers, so I knew I wasn't going to get them back. And he bought one, and then he bought another one, then he bought another. I sold him 3 over like a 2-year period. And they went to catching lions with them dogs right away.
Cool.
And then he got some puppies, got some good bred puppies. And so now he's doing his own deal. But that doesn't work out all the time, But I was pretty sure I wasn't going to get them back, because they were, you got to be careful in this world. There's horse jocks and there's dog jocks. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that will take advantage of people in that situation, or novice kind of people.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're all sitting here tonight. We're not those kind of people.
No.
But the reality is that those kind of people exist. So you have to be careful. And,
That's a fact.
Anyway. But I've been offered up to $20,000. 15 years ago, I had several guys offer me up like $20,000 for a dog. But when you're using them every day,
you're making
for a living like I was. Yeah, you don't have anything for sale. And the only reason this boy got a dog from me is because Benny sent him my way. And when I talked to him and I met him, I liked him. He's a real cowboy. I mean, he's pretty punchy, and I figured he'd do good with them dogs, and he has. So.
Well, Rick, he told me, he says, "I'll let you know how things go." He said, I'm supposed to meet him on a road. I said, "Well, you're going to get interviewed, Wes." He says, "What do you mean?" I said, "Rick's not going to give you that dog, sell you that dog if he doesn't like you. So you better shine your business up." And, and there you go. That was the rest of the story. He told me, he says, "Yeah, he asked me a bunch of questions and we talked before I ever got to see the dog." I said, "Well, that's because that's what Rick thinks about his dogs."
Yeah, those dogs are, they're family. I mean, you raise them and you train them, and just like horses. I had to whip a kid the other day that tried a rope horse of mine, and he was trying him and he whipped him, and we ended up getting a fist fight over the deal because
you don't get on somebody else's horse and whip them. That's
hey, if you want to whip them, buy them and then whip them. Yeah. And then I might still not like it if you do it in front of me.
Exactly.
And I'm not necessarily a tough guy, but if you want to try me on, step up.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Hey, Smitty called me and Smitty called me and he told me about that, and me and him just almost rolled on the floor on the telephone talking about that whole deal. Steve.
Who was that? Oh, Steve. Yeah.
Me and Steve. Yeah. Yeah. I laughed. I said, yeah.
He was a higher number groper. He was a good kid. He actually tried him the first time and they couldn't get him bought. And then he come back and tried him the second time. And I don't want to get off. I have a tendency to get off on tangents of team roping because I'm hooked. I'm addicted.
He's
so obsessed. You'll have to bear with me. Anyway, he tried him again, and I told him, I said, run 7 or 8, give him a shot right there in the 5 hole, and he misses him. And so he got mad because he missed. He took, how them guys are, they take it out on the horse.
Yeah.
And I seen him double his rope and whop, he busted him up, and the horse broke in one. I thought they were both going to go to the back of the strip and shoot and kill both of them. Anyway, I didn't handle it probably as mature as I should have.
You fit right in this crowd.
Well, then I went down to the strip and shoot. He was down there. He missed the cow, but he was down there letting the cow out of the strip and shoot. And of course, I was just standing there. I said, get off your horse. And, I felt kind of sorry for him because, Yeah, most days, if you want to come get me to go rope or go do something, you got to come by the nursing home, check me out, you know. He was just looking at me like, and he even told me, for real? And I said, yeah, get off or I'll get you off. He was thinking, hell, this is, you know, I think he just felt bad because he thought he was going to beat me up. And that didn't happen.
So Rick, the story that I got told when the cops came, you told them. Now this is just what I was told though, but
No
you said,
cops,
look,
no cops came.
they didn't come.
There was no cops.
Okay, so we'll just scratch that whole story.
Yeah. No, we had a little deal there, and he got the worst end of it, and then you know, I just told him to get his rig off my horse, and he said his arm was hurt, and he said, I don't think I can get it off. I said, I'll get it off. So I undid his back flank, and undid his cinch and just shoved his rig off out on the offside on the ground.
People are having a hard time understanding us for some reason.
Is it just a couple guys, or is everybody can't hear us on this internet? Because usually when it goes bad on our side too. But our side, I'm getting a little fuzzy, but I'm not getting any.
Yeah, we can see. I mean,
bad audio.
We haven't froze up or anything. It might be his internet.
Is it me?
No, it's not you.
It's Rick. Rick did it all.
So this.
I can't drive a bus, so I probably screwed this up.
It says the sound is cutting out a lot.
So interviewing this guy for your rope horse brought you all the way back to Arnold's 2x4.
No. But anyway, you know, people are crazy. I mean, anyway. Yeah. I just jumped the horse in the truck, and the guy that owned the arena come running out. He was working on a tractor out there in the barn, and he said, "What happened? What happened?" I never even answered him because I was about half mad, and so I didn't even have a halter or anything on the horse. When I took his rig off and threw all his bridle and everything in his saddle out on the ground, I just took my belt off and laced it over his neck and walked him out to the trailer and jumped him into the trailer, and we came home. So that was the end of it. So. But anyway, it is what it is, you know. But
things happen.
Hounds are really, I mean, they're expensive, and you know, my recommendation to people that are, you know, getting in, you know, going to buy a rope horse or buy a lion dog or whatever, you know, go try them, you know, because anybody that's, you know, reputable should give you let you see them work for a couple of days maybe or something, you know.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah, especially if you're getting that big money for them.
Yeah, what I've learned about myself is, and I won't probably do it because I'm not a horse jock. I don't hardly ever sell any horses. But if I'm going to show a horse again, I'm going to take a bunch of these young boys around here that I rope with, and they're going to go with me. And if it happens again, I'm going to say, take care of that while I smoke a cigarette.
Yeah. Here, you're younger than me. You watch out for it. Yeah, if you can't go,
it lasts longer.
If you're going to ask a bunch of money, they should give you the money in your hand, and you tell them, take this dog, and for 10 days or whatever, you hunt him. If you bring back the same dog you left with, I'll give you this money. But after 10 days, this is mine, or if something happens to the dog or whatever, this is my money, you know, in case, you know, something happens, you're taking the liability.
If they were going to try one, I'd have them come down and try them or go up there, take it up there. But like with Wesley, you know, I really liked him. He was a good boy. And that first time I met him, my mother was with me. And anyway, he took the dog and we got in the truck, and my mother she was a pretty good judge of character. And she got on and she said, "That's a pretty nice boy." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." You know, so we liked him right off. So we didn't, you know, you don't think you're going to have any trouble with that, where they call like 60 days later and they've caught 15 lions and go, you know, it's just not for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You'd probably be surprised how many times that does happen on other people. But a lot of people, if they need the money, they don't really vet. They just need that money to buy some dog food or whatever the reason. So
right.
I think we've talked about this on our shows 100 times about vetting the buyer, not just the dog, talking about the dogs or the owner, but the buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a dishonest world, and I'm not saying everybody's like that, but if you're going to spend that kind of money, get a dog, call around, or call Benny or call Chris or call you, Brett. Call around and kind of get. It's like interviewing employees or something. I'm a supervisor, and when I interview people on those applications, there's there's background checks, and then they have to they have to write a history and people that you can call and check on their work history. So that's kind of the same.
Resumes don't do the job.
Right. And sometimes I call and sometimes I don't, but for 20 grand, I would call or say, hey, can I come down for a couple days and try the dog? So.
Yep.
Well, that last dog that I got from Hendricks, he was still on the Wallapai, and he told me, he says, I got 2 dogs I want you to look at. So I went over there and I hunted with him for 4 or 5 days, and we get done and he says, so what do you think? And I told him what I thought, and he says, why? I told him why. He said, that's what I'd do. So I came home with Dora.
Sure.
And it's just, and I already knew Dora. I had 3 pups out of her at different ages, but still you don't know how a dog's going to behave for you and your circumstances, because you're taking them out of their everyday deal.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brett.
Well, I was just thinking how they said, sell a dog that's broke. This dog's 100% broke. But you mix him in with a bunch of other dogs, maybe he's not broke unless he's in broke company.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables there that can go south.
Sure. They're going to try you too.
Yep.
But I knew Larry real well and hunted with him a lot and caught a lot of lions with him, and he wasn't a liar.
Oh, he absolutely not.
And probably, I've hunted with the best guys in the world and been mentored, which was a real blessing, when I was younger. But I've hunted with the best in the world, and Larry. That includes Larry and
Larry and Steve and Terrell.
Yeah, just those guys are just our kind of guys. I mean, kind of guys that me and Chris would go, get a bite to eat with, get a chicken fry or something. They're you don't have to watch them kind of guys.
Yeah. When you first started, how did you start lion hunting? How did you get into it?
Well, I got into the hounds when I was a kid. My dad got me into the hounds because we had a place in Tonto Basin, and there was a creek that ran up there for about 20 miles all the way down to Bartlett and Horseshoe Lake. And I was running up down that creek catching frogs and snakes. And my dad asked me one day, he said, because I had Full Cry magazine, the Coon magazine.
Yep.
And I would look in there, and Daddy said, you think that you'd like to have some hounds, and would you use them? And I said, yeah, I'd like to have some. So he ended up getting me some young dogs, and that's how I got started in it, was hunting on that creek. And then when I was about 20, I'd gotten away from it for a little bit, and then was playing music, and had a serious drinking problem and a serious fighting problem, and stuff that eventually you gotta grow up and mature, and you're never gonna have it. Yeah, everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
When you're 26 years old and you're drinking every day and you've got 9 assault charges and you're in county court all the time, and, you know what I'm saying? You're never going to have anything with that. So young guys are listening to this, pay attention.
Yeah.
Get your act together, because if you got a family, take care of your family. Don't get involved in that stuff. Work hard, take care of your family. And because that crap ain't going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. There's no benefit to it.
There's zero benefit in it. So anyway, I gave all that up, and then I thought, well, I'm going to get some more hounds, and got some young dogs and was trying to hunt, and did that for maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and met George Goswick, started hunting with George, and George helped me get some hounds. And that was the turning point, when George started mentoring me, and I saw the difference in the hounds.
Can you remember that first lion you caught on your own?
Yeah. God, it's been a long. It's been so long. I think it was a young female, or just a female. It was a female lion, and I had some lion dogs there, and we were just running around there trailing. And there's doubt in your mind. You're thinking, I wonder if it's even a lion, And
every day I have those doubts.
Fox.
You guys are going to have to carry me tonight because I get myself in trouble because I'm super honest, and a lot of times people they want a better story. They're like, man, could you fluff it up a little bit? And they go, probably not, Anyway, so we trailed around there about 2 or 3 hours, and they jumped this thing and catch it, and I'm like, and I rode up there and I was looking, I was like, dang, it's a lion, It's pretty cool.
That first one
super uneventful. I mean, I think I were thinking to myself, I just thought it'd be more than this, because you're pounding leather and you're hunting and you're trying to catch one, and you'd give your left. No, I'm not going to say that. You'd give your left arm for one. You know what I mean?
It's a family show.
22 years old. I'm telling you, you will give your left arm for a lion, for a fresh lion track, and catch one.
Oh, no,
and
I
think
understand.
Everybody feels that way.
Every time I go out, I have that same feeling.
Most guys give their left arm just to find a track,
Yeah.
Just to find a track.
That's just true stuff right there. So anyway, that was the first one. And then we've had the big career. It's been a real blessing. We've caught a lot of lions and we've worked hard at it. I say we, because I give the dogs 150% of the credit. It always cracks me up about lion hunters, and they're all puffed up, and they're all, this lion hunting thing is the most jealous hearted. And I wish guys wouldn't be that way. If you guys are listening and you're that way, stop that. Quit worrying about what everybody else is doing. Pay attention to your own business and wish everybody well, okay? Because karma is a real deal. What goes around comes around. It's like at a roping. If you're hoping a guy falls off his horse so you can win the roping, you need to reevaluate, where you're at and what you're thinking. So,
no, you're exactly right.
Just don't whip a horse around, Rick.
Don't whip his horse.
Well, hell, I think, hey, Chris,
ain't no falling.
I don't think that's just me. Just about everybody I know would have taken care of that. Don't you agree, Brett? That's bad arena etiquette.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you was hunting with someone with your dogs and you reached over there and kicked your dog,
same deal, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Crap! Yeah, hell with that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so now you're on top of this guy. I'm beating the crap out of him. Whoopsie.
Oops.
Whoopsie.
Oops. There's number 9th aggravated assault charge.
Whoopsie. Yeah, it's just bad manners. You don't. If you want to do that, buy the hound, and I still don't like that kind of stuff.
How about
take it somewhere else?
Right.
I get to thinking about some of the guys I hunted with, and I mean, I probably shouldn't go into any details, but one guy who brought Benny laughs, he probably knows about him. Guy brought some dogs out and hunting with me. I thought he was my buddy and everything, and he brought some female dogs, and one of them happened to be in season. Well, Booger being Booger, he snuck off over there. We were going up the side of the mountain, and they locked up. And this guy got mad at me. He said, "Why don't you have that dog castrated?" And let me tell you what, now I lost it. I mean, I got that red hair came out in me, and I lost it. I got mad. I don't even want to go into details. But,
hey, Chris. Hey, Benny. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Everything's good, Rick.
Whoopsie.
Yeah. Whoopsie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When
That's
you're
why
following somebody, whoopsie.
That's why it's better to hunt alone sometimes. A lot of times.
I prefer it.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up. Am I talking too much, or am I doing?
No, you're perfect. That's you talk.
No, you're special. You're special.
I'm the guest.
Rick.
I'm the special guest.
You're the guy who came in on the special
People
bus.
are tired of hearing us talk.
So it's interesting that you bring that up, because when I was hunting with George told me one time, he said, Rick, he said, I know this can be hard to do, but if you stay by yourself, you'll do better, just because sooner or later you're going to have to go by yourself, and you're going to have to quit mixing dogs and all that stuff. And
Absolutely.
I said, yes, sir. So what the turning point was with me when I quit, when that, and listening to him tell me that kind of broke me anyway. But I was hunting with a good friend of mine over there, and we'd hunted quite a bit together, and he bought this high money dog from up in Utah or something. And anyway, we're over there, and I had some hounds that were pretty broke, I thought. Anyway, this dog was just bumping deer all day long and being real trashy. And anyway, he got over there and he got after some whitetail deer, and I told him, he got, long story short, he got mad because I said, hey, you need to go down there and school on him a little bit. He's not respecting you, and he's just causing a lot of problems here. Well, he didn't like it, and we ended up, we had to take our chaps off, and hell, we got into it right there on the pine-covered mountain hillside there, and some big ponderosa pines. Yeah,
Well,
we got
sounds
a
like
fist fight right over something stupid, because he was in denial, and he didn't like me. I mean, I was just telling the truth,
Just letting him
So
know.
I didn't have to deal with that anymore.
Sounds like you had some manners about it. I mean, y'all got prepared. You took your chaps off and everything. Mine usually spur of the moment explosion.
Now we took our legs and
Down where I hunt, it's not the fighting that's afraid. It's not the fist. It's the rolling around and getting into that cholla. Gotta find a clear spot first.
Yeah, let's go over here.
We were like 7,000 feet on some pine needle covered hillside, big ponderosa pine. I mean, perfect fighting conditions. It was fun.
Soft
no rocks.
ground.
Yeah, we were like in the hillside going off the mountain. It's like vertical. I mean, we spent more time trying to keep ourselves from going to the bottom than anything else.
Rolling down.
Yeah, rolling down.
When you hunt, how many dogs do you put on the ground at a time? But the typical answer is all of them. But
no, usually so we hunted, most generally I would hunt like 20 days in a row, sometimes more, sometimes less, but on average, I try to round this off, because it would fluctuate. But so I'm hunting 20 days in a row, and then I would take like 3 or 4 days off, or a couple of days off. And so I would hunt like 6 or 7 a day. But sometimes if I had a lot of young dogs and I was into some lions, where I went over there and there was a lot of lion sign in there, I would take more and work those younger dogs. It depends.
When you went into some areas like that, did you just load up your mule or horse and go into the area and put the dogs on the ground and start making big circles?
Yes, we just hunted. We didn't have any cameras or any. Occasionally we would get calls if there was killing or people would see a lion, but you couldn't depend on that. So we just got up every morning and caught a mule or a horse and grained them and loaded some hounds and went. We just hunted hard. Make big circles, and
15 mile circles, you think?
Yeah,
depending on the country.
Sometimes 5, sometimes 15. I didn't have no way to track it, but we'd spend all day horseback, or we'd pound it out. But I always had young dogs with me, always trying to keep them coming and training them, because that's the problem with trying to train young dogs. Guys want to take it out on those pups, and it takes a lot of lions or a lot of bears or a lot of coons or to make a dog.
Sure.
A dog, you got a young dog and he only sees 2 lions a year. You really can't be too critical about a pup like that. Does that make sense? And it's not the guy's fault. It's guys are trying to make a living and support their families. And, pay their electric bill, and I'm all for that. It's hard for the regular guy to hunt. He's a weekend kind of guy, and sometimes he doesn't even get to do that because his wife's got him mowing the lawn, or or he's got I've got these young boys down here that I rope with, and they're all working welding 13 hours a day, and they want to rope, but they don't get to go as much as they want to. So it's a problem. So that for me, a guy like I was doing it for a living and had the luxury of going every day and catching 35, 50 lions a year, depends on what we got into. But and I'd like to do the math. Go ahead, Benny.
I was just going to ask, how long did you work for Arizona? That was a short stint, wasn't it?
Well, I worked for the game department out there on and off, on working on predator work for, some game wardens out there they would call, and I would do some predation work. And then I worked on a lion study for them, the game department. And then, when I got started with the agency out there, I was with them about a year and a half, and then ended up coming to Texas.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and it just through whatever the reason, it was kind of a mutual deal. Poor management, or me being the hard ass that I am. I'm getting better.
I don't mind saying it.
105 years old, huh?
I don't mind saying it. That state director at the time was a real prick.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of problems with that stuff, but and back then, and it's not really much better now. I don't take muscling too well. I mean, I love everybody, and I'm easy to get along with, but I don't muscle. So,
Yeah.
If you want to jack with me, I got a lot of my mama in me. I'll just take the high road, and then if that don't work, then whoopsie. So.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie. You like that one, Chris?
I like that one. I'm gonna start using that one.
Yeah, whoopsie.
Yeah, but you didn't have a better fan club than your mom. She believed in you 100% no matter what you chose to do, Rick.
Oh yeah,
And that's
my
not
mother.
everybody has that.
Yeah,
she was
everybody that knew my mother, she's the only reason that I had any chance at all.
Yeah.
My dad was a good man, but he was a little bit harsh. All the men that raised me were hard as nails. And my mother, she taught me high road, and, she would say, I love you. And the men that raised me, they did, the men back then, they loved you, but they wasn't going to say it.
Oh, no.
They didn't know how to say it, or didn't know they weren't raised like that. So, when you're 10 years old, you're asking your mom, well, he doesn't care about me, and mom's like, yeah, he cares about everybody. Well, he doesn't say it. She said, well, he just doesn't know how. So, So the mothers, thank God for our mothers. They teach us how the other end of it. The compassion and the love, and
Absolutely.
the other, and be grateful for that, because without that, we're just a bunch of hard asses, and we're that way anyway. So,
yeah.
But can I take a moment and do the math for what it is like hunting every day?
Yeah.
So you're hunting every day. I don't know how to put this in perspective. So say you hunt 300 days a year. Because there's a boy that comes on this podcast, and he seems like a really nice kid. And he had I watched this a little bit when you guys are on here. I don't get to watch all of it, but I watched little pieces of it, when friends come over and they get it on the phone, they go, hey, let's watch these guys. And I said, okay. And they like you, Benny. And,
oh crap. Hey, don't tell them anything about me, Rick. Don't tell them anything.
So this boy that's on here was a while back. He said he seemed puzzled. And this is the only reason I'm bringing it up, or I was thinking about it, because he seemed puzzled about the math on it, about how a guy can hunt 300 days a year and only catch 40 lions or 35 lions. He seemed puzzled by that, and was thinking, it should be more maybe, or something. So I want to put that in perspective. So if you hunt 300 days a year, and you catch 40 lions. So what is that? That's 260 dry days of hunting. So here's the truth on that. So here's how you go plus and minus on that. So you're hunting 300 days. You get up, Chris, me and you, we get up at 3:00. We catch mules and we grain them, and we go over there. And it's not raining when we leave, right? So me and you drive over there 2 hours. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Me and you drive over there 2 hours, and it's raining. We drive 2 hours and it's raining. So guess what? That day is in what? The minus column? That's in your 260 day column. So you get up the next day and you go over there and you got a lion track and you trail 2 or 3 hours and the wind gets up and it's blowing 50 miles an hour. Guess what? What column is that in? 260. You're in the minus. So do you see where I'm going with this? There's a 1,000,001 things that can keep you from catching a lion no matter how many days a year you get to hunt. Go ahead.
Well, you're hitting it on the hours now because you're hunting 300 a day, and if you get to hunt 8 hours a day, it's 2,400 hours. But if you don't get to hunt 8 hours a day and you do hunt 300 days and you're only out there for an hour,
right?
If you actually added up the hours that you're able to hunt, it's probably way down in 150 days.
Yeah, but I just do it when I get up in the morning and the sun goes down. Regardless, it's just the day has gone by and I've exhausted the day. But there's 1,000,001 things that can happen to keep you from catching a lion every day. And I'm only bringing this up because there's a lot of young guys maybe out there, or you guys, don't get frustrated. My all-time favorite is what was I going to say? My all-time favorite is things that keep you from catching a lion, or like the rain or, the wind, especially where I'm at down here in Texas, the wind, my all-time favorite is what I was going to say is when you get over there. So me and Brett, we go over there and we hit a lion track and it's a night old and it's 9:00 in the morning. We trail this dadgum thing till 4:00 in the afternoon. And we've been looking for the track all day long, and they're making good time on it. And we finally see it at 4:00 and we're backwards. That's my all-time favorite. So what is that? That's in your minus column because it's too late in the day to turn the dogs around. We've trailed 10 or 12 miles and we're backwards. It's too late to turn around. So you see where I'm going with that? And I don't remember what that boy's name was, but I hope that puts it in perspective. If he's getting to hunt 50 days a year or 75 and he catches 10 lions a year, boy, howdy, he's doing good.
Yeah.
Let's be talking about Jared.
Jared, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know his name. Seemed like a really nice kid.
He just went and hunted for like 7 or 8 days straight and ran track all day, every day for 7 or 8 days. He might have been over there 9 days. I don't remember. But he was frustrated. He'd be running a track, bump into another track.
Yeah.
So, trying to take that hot track or find out which way it's going.
Okay, well, there's what I'm talking about. So you got tracks coming and going, and there's a lot of chaos going on the ground. Dogs can't figure out how to get out, and you're all day long jacking around with that. Guess what column that's in at the end of the day? 260 day. Yeah, it's in the minus column. And then the smoke clears and Christmas rolls around from January to December, and Christmas rolls around, and you've caught 35 lions or 49 lions. How that ever happens, I don't know. And in the summertime, this is another all-time favorite. It's 100 degrees by 10 o'clock. Guess what? Now you're hunting at night because it's 100, and nighttime lions are, golly, I can't. I mean, it's 10 times harder to catch them at night. And the reason being is because lions are different at night. It's the terrain and just it's way more dangerous. I've hunted a lot. It's true. I've caught a lot of lions. I've caught hundreds of lions with flashlight. I've killed a bunch of them. And it ain't fun. I don't recommend it. If you got dogs you care about and you don't have to hunt in the summertime like I did, don't do it. But you get over there and you're getting burned up and it's a dangerous deal. But those lions are different at night. And the reason being is, so we wheel up there, me and Benny wheel up there, and it's 8 o'clock at night, and we're getting ready to hunt all night long. And we go over there and we don't strike a track till 11 o'clock. This lion's been up 5 or 6 hours. He got him a drink of water somewhere, got out of his bed, got a drink, see where I'm going?
Yeah.
And he's been up for 5 or 6 hours on the prowl and hunting. And that's a different animal than a lion that's been asleep all day long. And you jump him at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and he jumps up on a rock or in a tree, and he's blinking like, "What's up, everybody?
Why are these dogs doing this?" Yeah.
You wake him up and he's all blinky eyed, and he's like, "What the hell?" That's a different lion, cowboy, than a lion that's been up 5 or 6 hours or 2 hours, and you jump him and run him. 95% of those lions, the fist fight is on the ground, and they're just a different animal at night, and let me tell you, they can fight.
We don't
Does that all make
talk
sense?
about that. Yeah, we don't talk about that too much either. We don't talk about that pushing a lion out of its bed when he's sleeping. You don't really talk about that much. You just talk about trailing a lion for hours and days and catching up to it. But you're right. Okay, everybody talks about Nevada. Oh, you could hunt all night long, 7 days a week, but no one's talking
those lions. They're up moving. Those lions are up out of their bed at night. They're nocturnal. They can be. What's the word I'm looking for? Like they get up early. I mean, they get up. It doesn't have to be completely dark. It can be. Like twilight hours? It's like
around
crepuscular. Crepuscular is like twilight hours, so they can be active in those twilight hours. And but then it's nighttime and they're nocturnal. They're still up. They get a drink of water. Now they're on the hunt. They're on the prowl. They're doing their routes. That's just a totally different animal. But they sleep all day long. They get, they're up all night long, and then they go to bed. And here's another thing with when they go to bed. And I don't think we talked about this on the interview, Brett, but sometimes when you go down there, those dogs will fool around a lot, because sometimes they'll just go down there and go to bed. They'll scratch out a little place or get in a little old ledge or a cave and a little cueva there, and they'll go to sleep. But a lot of times they'll mess around there for an hour trying to figure out where they want to bed down. And there's a lot of sign there coming and going, and the dogs are. So a guy's just got to stay back. If you think you got them, you think you're on them, sometimes they'll sneak off, but they're still jumped.
Yeah.
And but that's a different deal when I'm talking about at night. Those lions.
How about when they go to bed down like that? The age-old question: what about them turning off their scent when they go to sneaking? The scent picture changes.
Yeah, and they could, like you trail in there, and he's been there for an hour, that morning. So say you trail in there, hypothetical situation: a guy trails into a lion, and it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and he's been sleeping 5 or 6 hours, but he spent an hour there trying to figure out where he wanted to lay down. You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tracks coming and going when they get it, and you can see it, that the chaos picks up. I trail into where those lions are. They're right there. I can usually tell. Most of the time I'm by myself, and I say, "Self, just let him work
lion's
out.
Right here.
Right here. He's right here." But sometimes if the lion, they'll just be sitting there, and the dogs are all trailing around them. They're up. I mean, it wakes them up. They're awake now, but they've been sleeping 5 or 6 hours, 2 hours, or however long they've been in their bed. So he's just sitting there. But sometimes those lions will sneak off, and there's that little heightened of awareness. They get alarmed, they get spooked, and when they go to sneaking like that, once they figure out where they've left right there, sometimes it takes them a little, 200 yards, eighth of a mile before they get down there, and they really, they get hot again on it, where they feel where that scent comes back on.
Do you think that's we use the term, which we get a lot of hell for, of them turning off their scent, but it's just like that scent picture kind of changing because they're sneaking, isn't it? I mean, they're just not leaving much when they're sneaking.
Well, it's a chemical response. They don't mean to do it. It's just something, a physiological thing, that just happens. I mean, I don't even know how to put it. I mean,
gets nervous,
Yeah, I mean, they could be nervous, or they're just, yeah, I mean, they're scared. They get scared. I mean, they've been sleeping 6 hours and then they woke up and they go off there and they're just, it's just like people that adrenaline rush. When you get scared, I mean, people have the same thing. I mean, it's the same reaction.
How about when a lion is hunting? Say he's hunting and he's milling around up on a ridge, looking off, doing whatever he's doing, and then he sees something he wants to get closer to or stalk or whatever, and he how they kind of crouch down, get to sneaking along.
Sure.
Sure. Do you have that same chemical response, do you think?
It's a possibility. I mean, who knows when that comes and goes, but they don't mean to do it, but it's a real phenomenon. I mean, it's a real deal. I've hunted a long time, and you guys have all hunted. You're all accomplished hunters. Certainly, you've seen it.
Well,
but I've had guys say, they try to call BS on that, and I said, everybody's welcome. Opinions are like elbows. Everybody's got them. They got one.
Yeah, but some opinions come with a lot of experience, and that's what we need to listen to.
Right. But I mean, that's what's going on in that deal. And I think it's a lot of fun to try to sit and talk about it or one thing or another. But at the end of the day, just go have fun and hunt. And if you're trailing lions, and just enjoy it.
That's what I say.
Like if I probably won't get to go with Jared, but if I ever did, he's a young guy, and my recommendation to him would be, you're doing good. That's what I would tell him. Hey, you're just ease up, cowboy. You're doing good.
So when you get to a certain point in this career, or even if it's not, I never hunted lions for a career. I did it just for fun and for a challenge. Right. But when you get to a certain point and people start asking you questions and looking for your experience and for your input, they don't realize that each and every one of us started out just like they are, all screwed up, made all the mistakes. We couldn't do anything. We burned hundreds and hundreds of dollars in fuel and fed dogs, and we were involved in the learning curve ourselves. It was only when you got in with George Goswick and some of those other guys, and then you found somebody that would help you along and mentor you. And then I had some guys like that too when I went off by myself. And everybody's going to make those mistakes. The best way to shorten that learning curve is to find somebody that'll sell you an 8 or 9-year-old dog and spend time hunting with you, or answer the phone when you have a question.
Yeah, I don't want to seem indifferent, but I don't really enjoy talking about lions that much anymore. I mean, it's
old hat to you.
Well, I don't even know what it is. I mean, this is stimulating, and I'm enjoying this, and I'm hoping some young guys are watching it, or if you guys are getting something out of it, I'm happy for you. But
now, if this was a team roping podcast,
me and Benny wouldn't get a word in.
But like Jared, not to pick on Jared, but I think just listening to him talk, he's probably got some pretty good dogs, and I think he's doing pretty good just listening to him, but I think he was, and I might have misread him, and if I did, I apologize to him and to you guys, because that's it's not unusual for me to misread stuff, but most of the time, in defense of myself, I'm right. I think he was.
I like that.
I think he was struggling with the math on, he gets to hunt 300 days a year. Why didn't he catch 200 lions? And the reason is there's 1,000,001 things that keep you from catching a lion, no matter whether you're on the mountain or in the parking lot of the Walmart. That's just lion hunting, cowboy. Jared, if you're listening, that's lion hunting, cowboy.
Did
stay after it. You're doing good, bud.
When you got a call to go into an area where there was lions, did you ever drag roads or do anything like that to
No, sir.
Just made circles in good, just like Henry McIntyre told me when I asked him about how do you hunt lions. He said, I take good dogs into lion country and I make circles.
Yeah. I've seen lion tracks trailering in, and we've walked a lot. I mean, I've spent a lot of time afoot too, hunting on foot, some country is not real. You get over there, you got to tie your mule, or if I don't think I need to take a mule, I'll go afoot. I've done a lot of walking, but I've seen, just trailering in there, just driving down the roads. I've seen line tracks in the road, in the headlights or something, and I'll get out and put a dog on that.
Yeah.
I'll get out and look at it, and I can tell by the color. You can tell by the freshness of it by the color of it. The darker the color, the more fresh it is. Or the vagueness of it. A night old lion track has got a real crisp, got a real defined edge to it. It's very sharp, and the color of it is dark.
It's not caving in on the edges.
Yeah, like in the gravel, nobody's that good, but you can still see it. And if it's in the gravel, I put a dog on it. If he opens on it and leaves, I'm like,
it's a good track.
There we go.
It's a good track, yeah. But if I see it in the dirt, or if I see it, if the trailing medium is good, if I can see it, I can usually tell. That's just experience.
A lot of times, do you look at if it looks like it's a little older track? Do you look at the country and try to figure out where he's going and kind of jump ahead?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going up a canyon and I see some scrapes that are a couple 3 days old and they're coming and going, or I see tracks that are 2 or 3 days old, I just keep circling around in there because there's a good chance that they're there.
Still right in there somewhere.
If you get into lion sign, a lot of times they're right there because they're in there hunting or they're looking for girls. They're in close proximity someplace there, and that could mean 10 miles. That doesn't mean 1 or 2 canyons. You just got to get in there and punch around and rim around and hunt for them. So, and sometimes when they're leaving, when they're leaving. When they leave, they just go dead away, and they'll go, there's corridors that go from one mountain range and they go out on a flat. And it's 30 miles across there. Trust me, they can cover that country in one night. They can cover 30 miles in a night. If in their mind they think, hey, I'm picking up and I'm going over to this other country because I've been in here for a month and I'm going to leave. They can cover that 30 miles in a night before, a night.
Little old.
I've seen that in the snow. Yeah. I've seen that.
Hit that little trot, that little 4 mile an hour, 5 mile an hour trot.
Straight line too. I could go to the next road and draw a line, go to the next road and catch this track where I think it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, leapfrog around and,
I've seen that in these highline wires where these highline roads are, where the little roads that follow the highlines. Line will come out of a little set of desert mountains up here and hit that highline wire and just beeline, just right. Yeah. You can follow that track for miles.
And it's straight usually.
Straight right down that highline.
Yeah, when they're going someplace, they go straight. But if you get into some lines and you're cold trailing and you're seeing some stein, stay in there a day or two and jack around. You'll probably catch a line.
Rick Cooley said, I'm getting stuff out of it, Richard. I'm 60 years old, wanting to bring my dogs out west and try it on my own. Thank you for talking. Do you see yourself even been doing it for the last 105 years that you still make a mistake every once in a while?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, the day's still young, too. I've made many today. and it ain't over, cowboy. We got about, another 6 hours? I've made many mistakes, yeah. And thank you for your kind words, Rick. Thank you. Good luck to you. Stay after it, buddy.
You said you like got tired of talking about lions, but I tell you what, your words are gold to some of these kids.
Oh yeah.
Not even kids. Rick's 60 years old and he's still trying to learn something.
No, that was inspiring. He said he was 60, and yeah, that's thank you for your kind words, Rick. Stay after it, dear. You're an inspiration, buddy. And I get a lot of young guys that call, and I never sit there and think, crap, I got to talk to these guys. I hope nobody misinterpreted what I meant about that. I just, I never get tired of trying to help young guys or, if people are, or anybody 60 years old, if they want something, I can help them. I will.
Well, I'm 63, and I haven't yet, but I'm gonna put Rick on my speed dial, because I got guys I call Breck Bean, and I'll call Benny, and I'll call Cody King, I'll call Chris. I mean, I got guys that I call, say, what do you think happened right here? Just give me some ideas. I tried lying up into some bluffs up here and just milled around. I couldn't figure out. And one of my problems that I have, believe it or not, is impatience. I will get into a bad spot now, get impatient. I want to move those dogs. And that's not good.
Do you believe that, Benny? Brett being impatient.
Yeah, but you guys don't just because someone's done everything and they've seen everything. I think I've told this before. I was at Larry Hendricks's house one summer, and I don't know, he hadn't been home for very long from hunting all winter. He was over there on the Wallapai where he could do what he wanted, and he says, "Hey, let me tell you this story about what this lion did. I've never seen that before. Have you ever heard of anything like that?" And so it doesn't matter who we are. We have every opportunity to make a mistake, and we also have every opportunity to learn something, no matter what day of the week it is.
It brings back, I always remember this story where the guy got a loader stuck under a bridge over on the freeway, and they had 5-6 engineers there trying to figure out how to get this loader. It was on a semi-trailer, and he had got it stuck under a bridge. They were sitting around there for hours, and one of those engineers had a 10-year-old kid jumped out of his truck, went over there and said, "Why don't you just let the air out of the tires?"
Yeah.
So I think when even as a private investigator, I have this dumb book called, Private Investigator for Dummies. And sometimes I would just pick that book up and read it a little and say, "Oh, you got to go back to basics." So I think you try too hard sometimes, and where the line's going to go or whatever, instead of just making a circle.
Overthink it.
Overthinking.
That's a good point, Chris. Don't overthink it. Yeah, my dad told me years ago, I can remember him saying, if you watch the stupidest guy in the world, if you watch him long enough, you can learn something.
Yeah.
That's why I make videos. I can watch the stupidest guy in the world.
The point is that you can, like Benny said, you can learn. If you're paying attention, you can pick up something.
And sometimes it's not always.
It's not how to do something.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not always on how to do something. Sometimes it's what not to do.
You might be thinking, "Hell, you taught me something. I'll never do that."
Yeah,
but taught you something.
Yep.
I'll be dang.
It is what it is.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you guys mind if I run and get a drink of water?
No, help yourself. We will do a commercial while you're gone.
Okay. What, do I need to do anything? Or?
No, just leave it there.
Just leave everything set the way it is.
I'll be right back. I got to get a drink.
We're going to be, hey, guys, I haven't got all the stuff for it yet, but we do have a sponsor, Value Pack Dog Food. I fed Value Pack a long time ago, and I loved it. And I lost the distributor here. They had a distributor here, and the guy went out of business, so I couldn't get it anymore. But the guy that I deal with at Value Pack is super, super, super nice guy. And let me tell you what, they support houndsmen, and which is rare in this dog food world. And so I called him, and another friend of mine has a big hardware store here in Hatch, and it's a Village Hardware. So I called him, and he said, "Hey, we're looking for a dog food company." So I put them in contact with each other. So we're being sponsored by Value Pack. So if you have a chance to feed it, I'm feeding the blue purple sack right now. It's a 30. What is it? It is a 30-20. So far, so good. Nice little hard turd. If you clean pins, you figure out what is good dog food and what isn't. And
the only complaint I have about that dog food is I have to feed it in my bowls, because I used to dump it on top of my dog houses, my dog boxes.
It rolls off.
And it rolls off because it's little tiny pellets. I'm like, son of a gun. So I had to dig up a bunch of dog bowls so I could feed it. Oh, look at there. Repping.
All
He's
right.
repping.
If you're all looking for some accessories, he's got T-shirts, coffee cups. Support this guy. He's a
Hey,
hand.
I got some Fat Lori T-shirts, and
Do
I
you?
want one.
and Fat Lori, poor thing. She was just born that way. She can't help it. She's got little short legs, and she's
Remember,
fat.
he's talking about that dog you keep, Rick. That's
Just
Fat Lori.
yeah, like that guy says. Well, what does that dog do? She don't do nothing, but she don't do nothing wrong either. But we were up here. I got a call on a lion track up here. Got up there a day late, of course. We got up on top, and Fat Lori was trailing that lion. I mean, and she was just licking rocks and acting like she'd caught 100 lions in her lifetime. But
Moved up to a 3. Moved up to a 3.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but she's not a 1. She's not a 1 anymore. She's not a 1 anymore.
She made
She's
it a 3
2
that
1/4,
day.
Chris.
That's
No,
it.
she's a 2 1/4 now.
People get tickled
You know
at
what?
her.
I've seen her on the podcast. That's a level 7 dog now.
I guarantee you, if I said anything on my video, say, "Hey, we're looking for Fat Lori a home," I could probably sell her for $1 million. People just love her.
Just to stay on their couch.
Yeah,
I've seen her on there. She's a keeper now.
You open the dog box, and all the other dogs bail out and everything. She walks to the edge of the tailgate and just sits there, and waits for me to lift her and put her on the ground. I swear.
Oh, that's my dirty dog. He's 11, but he's a bigger dog. So, them big dogs age a little bit more than those small dogs. He's getting to a point where he can jump on that tailgate, but he'll put his front paws on it first and look at me.
See if he goes, will you help me out, boss?
Depending on how far we went that day, I'll lift him up.
But anyway, where were we? Oh, I did a commercial. That's the first commercial I've ever done, just like a regular sponsored. So this podcast this video, what do you call these, Chris? This live show is sponsored.
It always goes to a podcast. So all of you guys who says the video, you can't hear the audio, just wait till it comes out on a podcast. The audio is always better on the podcast.
And you can listen to the podcast on W Hunting Supply and also share it on Chris's little setup he's got. So anyway.
All over the place. All over the place.
What else do we got? What else can we ask Mr. Dickerson about?
Well, it's not just about what the dogs can do. I mean, you rate your dogs on 1 to 5, but does manners have a lot to do with that?
Well, I wish I could say that it does, but most of my career, I've had some dogs that had manners, but most of my dogs were pretty unruly, to be honest. They didn't know their names, and they were pretty wild.
They were.
Most people wouldn't have liked them, and they would bite. I mean, I had a lot of dogs that
all the stuff we say we don't want.
Yeah,
but they would. It worked.
Somebody would go with me, which was I spent 98% of my career by myself. So, but people would go occasionally, and they would be over there trying to pet the dog or catch them, and I would have to tell them, hey, don't pet on them or don't try to catch that dog because he might bite you, Or they were a handful.
You put up with a lot of stuff if you got one that'll go ahead and go catch you a lion.
Yeah, they're catching 50 lions a year. I wasn't too hard on them,
Let them do their thing.
Yeah, they run down there for a fox, or they're like me. They've made 10 mistakes during the day. I wasn't ever too hard on them, but yeah, there's a picture that I sent Brett. That's
a pretty lion right there.
Yeah, he's a beaut. That was 20 years ago. Probably.
Look how slick he is.
Yeah, that's a summertime lion. You see it?
Pretty lion, yes, sir.
See how short his hair was?
So do you think those lions have changed at all, being with so much,
pressure?
People moving into the country and maybe more lion hunters. You think it's getting harder to catch them, or because of development? Maybe the way they're running has changed.
Evolving.
No, I think that's a real deal. That's not that's not you thinking about unicorn deal. The lions are, they can become habituated. Habituated is where they become, used to people or used to, settings, urban settings and stuff. They're getting more down here. The behavior, and lions have behavior like everything else. Lions, because of the deer, they're putting deer feeders out and they're feeding these deer because the deer are worth so much money. Most of the land status in Texas is private. So deer is big business down here. We've got more deer per square inch than any place in the world, and more lions and everything. We hunt them. The lions don't have any status. We got lots of lions, and they're hunting them. But those lions have gotten where they hunt those feeders. It has modified their behavior, where they've learned that those deer come up and get around those feeders. And so now it's not unusual to ride up through a feeder that's all powdered out, and there's deer tracks, lion tracks, and a lot of times there'll be a kill. There's a lot of lions right off deer feeder.
I'll be dang.
So these lions coming in, because right now you'll see a lot of these lions coming into these urban areas,
right?
Eating dogs. And I think Rick, who was it, or Randy Riggs, didn't he just say he had a dog killer? They went in and killed someone's dog, and they chased that lion down and killed it, like Brett did.
Yeah.
Is that has to change the way, because you're trying to hunt around houses now, and that's tough to do.
Well, what happens with that is it hinges on population densities. And Brett and I have talked about this. So in a population density, so in a high population density of lions, those home ranges are smaller. You got a lot of lions and there's only so much country and so much resource. Those home ranges will be smaller. So if you got a low population density, the home ranges will be bigger because you don't have as, there's more country. What's the word I'm looking for? Vacant. There's more vacancy with the country. But what's happening with a lot of this urban stuff is you got a high population of densities, and those home ranges are already accounted for. There's already resident lions living there, and you got a lot of, subadult lion. A subadult lion is any lion from 16 to 24 months, or an adult lion. Once an adult lion gets 2 years old, he has adult status. So those lions, the mother kicks them off about 16 months to 2 years. So those lions are, they're struggling. They're not real good at killing stuff yet. They can't get a deer as readily or as efficient as a 3 or 4 year old lion. You see what I'm saying with that? So they're having a hard time. So they'll go down there and they hear dog barking. They'll get in the yard. They catch house cats. They attack people. So that's like in California. I mean, it's not unusual to have a lion, but that's a high population of lions. Or lions that are trying. They're in what we call transient status. They're trying to find a home range, so they're just traveling, and then so they get into some urban settings, and there's a prey base for them. They can catch chickens. They're 16 months old. They can catch a chicken or a young lamb or a dog. Or, they're apex predators. They're super opportunistic. They've got to get something to eat like everybody else. So that's what's happening, I think, on that.
Rick, I want to go back real quick. Rick Cooley said that's where's he at? Was it Rick Cooley? I got where'd he go? He's saying something about here it is. That's a great question, Chris. I can't stand a dog that doesn't have a handle on it. Do you think a dog that you teach manners to, or a dog that you just let hunt, you think that dog, like you were saying, that were just kind of unruly, you think they hunt better?
Not necessarily. I think my dogs were level 5. Most of them were level 5 dogs because we were hunting all the time. It's called tuned up. A dog's either tuned up or he isn't. I mean, you got a dog that's just hunting on the weekends, or a dog that's only caught 6 lions a year or no lions a year. It's hard to, like I said, don't be unnecessarily critical of those dogs.
Exactly.
So, my dogs, I'm going to be honest. Most of my dogs, if I just had to hunt them on the weekends 4 times a year, I would have killed every one of them.
Well,
pain in the butt.
What I'm saying is, when you got a
Shelly dog, sir.
When you got a dog that has manners and listens to you, I just wonder if when they're out there hunting, they're so worried about being proper and looking at you saying, oh, I got to be good, rather
Sure.
than a dog that just you let out of the box and he's just his job. He knows he just wants to go find a track and tree a lion.
Well,
He's
I call
not
it
worried
picking
about
on
you
the dog.
saying bad dog or quit going so far or hey, get over here.
Well, you can pick on, it's what I call picking on them. You can pick on them too much. And I've seen it. I've seen guys, they make them dogs, they keep them right underneath them. The dogs are right there underneath them the whole dang way. Well, and if they get out of line or they drift off 10 feet off, they get shocked, or you can pick on them too much. And then pretty soon those dogs they'll just quit you. They're just, I like a dog that gets out and casts. I like a dog that gets out and hunts and jacks around. If he gets himself in trouble, okay, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I like a dog that, I've had dogs that, and I like this kind of dog. I'm rimming along, and they've snuck off, and they strike a lion across the dang canyon. I look over there, and there's 3 or 4 of them under a rim over there, and they've got them a lion trap. Now everybody runs to them. I personally like that kind of dog.
There you have it. It's a 3-hour podcast. We cut it down an hour and a half. It gets just as good in part 2. So you guys stay tuned. Next week, part 2, Richard Dickerson. Don't forget, run over to azwda.com, become a member, or donate so we can keep these anti-hunters off our butts.